What is going on, Swoopers? Welcome back to another episode of Swoop Luke. In this episode, we'll be previewing the huge King's birthday clash against the Demons. Let's get into it. So before we get into it, of course, this episode is another one that is supported by Footy Live. Go download their app from the links down below. Again, appreciate all of you that do that. Now, let's jump into this preview. The clash we've probably all had marked down in our calendars since, the fixture came out. Not only is it the first King's birthday clash because, the Queen passed away and there's no Queen's birthday anymore. The first King's birthday clash, it's Monday. We're 11-1. It's a week before the bye. We could go 12-1. What else is there? Oh, right. We're playing against Brody Grundy. This is a little bit of a side story to, going 11-1 and an opportunity to have 12 wins and stuff like that, 9 in a row. We played against Brody Grundy. We'll talk a little bit about that later, but there is a lot of eyes, or there will be a lot of eyes on this match for a number of reasons. One, of course, being Grundy that I talked about, but it's also a chance to show, have we learnt anything from the last couple of weeks playing against Kangaroos and West Coast, where we haven't played the best that we can play? Are we going to take any learnings from that and put a team that hasn't had a good season, a bit of a roller coaster season so far, put them to the sword? And I don't mean we're going to smash them by 70 points. I mean, will we see more of the McRae sandwich, first quarter and fourth quarter, or are we going to see a sustained four-quarter effort against a team that is third on the ladder and, are going to bat deep into September because they not only have one of the best midfielders, in Petrarca and Clayton Oliver, but they've just got a really good, well-rounded team, and it is going to be one of the biggest tests we've had in the last, 5 or so weeks. So Melbourne last week played Carlton, and they won, not convincingly, 17 points. If you just look at it on paper, you go, 17 points, probably a very close match and stuff, but they kept Carlton to 2 goals now in the first half. Now remember, Carlton have 2 Coleman medalists. They kept them to 2 goals, 5 in that first half. They kept them to under 40 inside 50s, beat them in contested possessions, beat them in intercepts as well. So on paper, that game looked, like I said, close, but when you look deep into the stats and, see that, Melbourne just were absolutely dominating, leading the tackle count, it's going to be an interesting game because we don't know what Melbourne we are going to get. Are we going to get the Melbourne that played Essendon? Are we going to get the Melbourne that played a couple of weeks ago that's dropped a couple of games that they should have won? Or are we going to get this sort of Melbourne that come out to prove a point because we know what we did to them last year in the King's birthday and in that round, I want to say 21 or round 20 or round 21 clash where we kind of were on level peggings in the third quarter and then we just ran away with it in the last quarter. Will we see more of that? Melbourne are going to want to prove a point that they can beat not only us, but they can beat these big teams, and this will really turn their season around if they can knock us off. So it is a game, it feels like an 8-point game. Even for Collingwood, it feels like an 8-point game. Port Adelaide are really on our tails right now. They're only 4 points behind us. We do have the best percentage in the league, and I think Melbourne have the second best percentage. So it does really feel like an 8-point game, and it is going to be very, 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 very mouth-watering, this contest. Now, what can we expect from Collingwood in this game? It really depends on what can we expect from the weather. Last time I checked, it was 14 and thunderstorms or really rainy, and that kind of just reminds me of the game against Richmond where the rain was just, it was thin rain, but there was a lot of it. It was coming sideways. We were all slipping over, and we kind of lost our run and dash game, of course, because it's wet, kicking it off the ground. I think at one stage, or I think the whole game, we kicked 14 points, or it was something really crazy. 3 goals, 14, I think, maybe. Just missing left, right, and center. So I think there's a lot to learn from a wet weather game, and it's not only us that are going to be affected. It will be Melbourne as well. Brody, Grundy, Max Gawn, the 2 talls. Will they be able, they're really tall and they rely on them a lot. does the rain sort of affect them? The last couple of games they played in the rain, they lost. So it's going to be very interesting. But in saying all of that, Collingwood at the moment, yes, we've had a couple of down games, even though we've won and won pretty convincingly. We have had a couple of down games where we weren't playing our style all the way through. I think when we come up against Melbourne, it's going to be the time where we actually need to see a sustained 4-quarter effort. And yes, I want to have a really good first quarter and I want to have a really good last quarter, that McRae sandwich. But in those middle, in the second and third quarter, where we try to conserve our energy to come out in that last, I just want to see, I don't know what other words to describe it than a sustained effort where we aren't letting teams kick a bunch of goals. I think last week we let West Coast kick 4 goals, and then in the Kangaroos game we let them kick 6 goals in a row. So we can't let teams do that. And I think in the Carlton game they kicked 2 or 3 in a row maybe. I know 2 doesn't sound like much, but that's enough momentum to kind of, get teams sort of back. In that first quarter, I want to end the quarter maybe 3 goals up, and then I want to end the half at least 4 or 5 goals up, because like I said, Melbourne are a really, really good team, and they will come back hard. The one thing about Melbourne though is their defenders are incredible. Jake Lever, Stephen May, they both help each other a lot. Kind of like what Darcy Moore, Jeremy Howe do when they're together. But Stephen May and Jake Lever are really those sort of fullback types, especially Stephen May. But Jake Lever will leave his opponent to run to Stephen May's opponent. Stephen May will leave his opponent to run to Jake Lever's opponent. And they did that last week, even though one was playing on Mackay and one was playing on Curnow. They're selfless like that, and they can back themselves in, and they take good intercept marks. So, and on the other hand, we're a really good running team. We it's fast ball movement. They're going to have to catch us to be able to withstand that pressure that we're going to build, and the tackling pressure, the number 1 clearance side and stuff like that. So there's a lot for Melbourne to mitigate, and I think there's only a couple that we do, and we're getting better at lowering our eyes and not kicking to these big sort of defenders who are going to mark the ball all the time. Had this happened a couple of years ago, especially against West Coast, we would just keep bombing it in, and McGovern's marking, or Barras, or Shue, or whoever it may be that's down there that keeps marking the ball. So that's one way that we're going to win in a sense, where I think we just have to let Jake Lever and Stephen May just be their sort of one-on-one defenders, but we can't let them be intercepting the ball too much. And that's why I think they're going to bring McStay straight in to play that big body, help Brody Grundy out. They might give Will Hoskin Elliott a bit of a rest. Jamie Elliott comes in. So there's going to be a lot of dynamicness in the forward line, which will be really good. But then on the flip side, our defenders. Melbourne have a potent forward line. JVR, Bailey Frisht as well. Petrarca pushes up there to defend. Petrarca pushes up there to kick goals as well. So Billy Frampton, I was going to say Jeremy Howe. I can't wait till he plays again. Billy Frampton, Darcy Moore, Nathan Murphy, and Quaynor and Braden Maynard. They're going to have their work cut out for them. But again, we pressure teams so well that all they can do is kick the ball high and long. So at the start, I talked about Brody Grundy. It's I don't know. I loved him. I loved him when he played for the Pies, and I still love him now. Like, there's no bad blood between the fans and Brody Grundy, because Brody Grundy pretty much got pushed out of the club. I don't care, but what the contract he was on and blah, 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 blah. The club said, find another club, right? It is what it is. If that doesn't happen, we don't get these other players that we've gotten. It's a bit of a domino effect, okay? That's out of the way. I don't think anyone is going to boo him before I get comments about that. No hope in hell. They'll probably clap him, if anything. But enough about that. What does he bring to Melbourne? He's going to want to take the first centre bounce. We know that his hit-outs aren't always to advantage or don't always lead to clearances. So we could, these guys play with him for, 7-8 years or something like that. So they'll be able to read his hit-outs and, you know, maybe be able to shark a couple and get a couple of clearances. So that could help us. But he is, his second and third efforts, he's a running midfielder. So he's going to, I don't think it'll be as damaging as he should be, but it's going to be interesting to see him going up against Mason Cox and Darcy Cameron. The last one to talk about is Jordan De Goey. No Jordan De Goey. Talked about him in a video yesterday. Lipinski will come in, Taylor Adams, Nick Dacos, Jack Crisp, all will rotate through the middle. We're going to be fine without De Goey. It is what it is. But like I said, De Goey goes out. I think Will Hoskin Elliott gets a rest, and I think Bo McCreary gets a rest. And they'll just bring straight in McStay, Lipper, and Jamie Elliott. I think that'll be our 3 changes. Now, predicted winning margin and big call. My big call is that I think Mason Cox is going to get off the chain a little bit. I think he's going to kick 3 goals. I think he's going to kick 3 goals. And I think the predicted score, I think Collingwood are going to win by 27 points. But anyway, guys, this has just been my preview. Let me know your thoughts down below. As always, I love to read them. And until then, like, comment, subscribe, tell your family, tell your friends, tell your pets. And until next time, double shackers. I'll swoop you later.